So when that voice talks to you, are you talking back to it? When that voice talks to you, are you entertaining it? When that voice talks to you, are you now like unable to make moves for the next 6 weeks because this voice said this thing? Welcome to the Playground Podcast. It's me, Shanila, and we have circled back to our age-old friend, self-doubt. Listen, self-doubt is one of these friends who it doesn't matter how much work you've done, the self-improvement, the personal development, the inner work, the shadow work, the therapy, the mindset, the integration, the affirmations. It doesn't matter. Self-doubt is one of these friends who just keeps lingering on and knocking in the back of your mind, reminding you and asking you like, are you good enough? Are you qualified? Are you this? Are you that? Is there somebody who's doing this better than you? Is there somebody who's ahead of you? Is there somebody who is more loved than you? Blah, 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 all these different things. Welcome back, self-doubt. And the thing is, self-doubt never really goes away. It just changes the way that it looks and it changes the way that it shows up in our lives. So when we think that we've healed through a part of our self-doubt and we're like, yeah, like I'm so confident now. As soon as we feel that, like all of a sudden there's another part or another arena of our life that is impacted by the self-doubt energy that says like, that insecurities start to come back. The old stories and the old programming, the old beliefs, the old habits start to come back. The way that you worked to really show up for yourself, the self-care practices, those start to dwindle. The way that you have developed mastery in your crafts, you start to doubt yourself in those kinds of ways as well. So it doesn't really matter if we're talking about self-doubt in your relationship, in your work, in your business, as an entrepreneur, as all the different hats you wear. It almost doesn't matter because at the end of the day, self-doubt is this thing that doesn't go away, but it is something that we learn to work with. Okay. And I'm a proponent of that, in all different concepts of self improvement and personal development. I don't think that you ever just like heal through a thing. You just learn tools and tactics to kind of allow yourself to be able to deal with that thing in a different way the next time it shows up, right? So it's not like the things are not going to show up because life is circular. It's cyclical. What goes up must come down. What is left, what is right, like if there's an up, there's a down. There's always going to be things that return back into your life, but we just become more prepared to deal with that and to kind of navigate through that because we have different tools with us. So here in this conversation, I wanted to share with you a few tactics that I personally use myself and as a mentor for healers in the healing arts, and especially coaches and somatic practitioners who oftentimes after they train, after they've developed their muscles and they learn the tools, they kind of get paralyzed in being able to bring the tools out into the world, to their clients, to their friends, to their communities and their families and things like that. So one of the things that I always like to look at is that self-doubt is about having enough evidence that you are on the right track. And sometimes we don't actually spend enough time collecting evidence of how good we are, how talented we are, how much we've grown, how much information we've collected, how many transformations that we've gone through, the experiences of life. Sometimes we just don't do enough reflection to find the evidence on our piece of paper. And sometimes we're looking at like all the things that we don't have versus all the things that we do have. And even if it is true that there are more things that you could have, there's more qualifications that you could get, even if there's more things that you could do to better yourself as a candidate, those things are true. And at the same time, you are qualified to show up exactly the way that you are and be valuable and useful and good enough with what you have under your belt in the present moment. So sometimes we just haven't done the work to collect that evidence, and we're waiting for other people to like validate us. We want our friends or our colleagues or somebody we feel inspired about to tell us like, oh, you did that. Wow, congratulations, pat on the back. When part of that responsibility and part of why we do experience self-doubt is because we're not patting ourselves on the back enough. Okay. We can't be the only ones patting ourselves in the back. Like, we're human beings, so we do desire external validation. You're not wrong to like want someone to look at you and be like, great job. Like, you did amazing. Like, that feels good. A compliment feels nice. Like, you're not going to lie about that. And at the same time, you have to also participate in patting yourself on the back. It's looking for the evidence in all the ways that you've done a lot, and you don't need to be the expert in order for you to have just taken a few steps towards the thing that you want, or the things that you feel insecure about. So whether that's your job, whether that's your career, whether that's a project, whether that's like a new thing that you've been doing, you have to look for the evidence in that. So the more evidence that we give our subconscious mind, the more that we're able to kind of heal through that self-doubt. Because one of the things about self-doubt is that it's that voice in the back of our head. Logically, like, you got it. In here, you got it. Like, in here, you got it. But if there's this like little peckering voice in the back who's like, me, like, what are they going to say? What are they going to think? How about this? Why did you do that? All of these different things, all of that voice is coming from your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind actually really impacts the way that you show up in your everyday life. So even if you believe like you got it, your subconscious mind will send a signal to your energetic body that will confuse that message. It'll say, yeah, you got it, but are you sure? Like, is this really the right time? Are you sure you don't want to wait? Like, are you sure you want to ask for help? Are you sure you're the right one to do this? Are you sure? Are you sure? It kind of puts that doubt into a place that you don't necessarily need to have doubt. But the more evidence that you give yourself conscious of the actions that you've taken, the results that you've gotten, the transformations that you've gone through, the more that your subconscious mind is able to retrain and reprogram itself in order to show up and match what you already know. It's like, you are good enough. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's going to say like, you are good enough, and also keep practicing, and also you're good enough as you are. This brings me to my next point, which is about being able to meet yourself in the present moment. And one of the things our brains kind of know how to do, and we're so creative, like the mind is so interesting because we'll come up with a story. It's like, oh yeah, like I'll create a story about like why right now is not good enough, or I don't have these qualifications, or this thing is not the right moment, or this, piece of the puzzle didn't meet at the same time, or, the clouds didn't part on the right Tuesday at 1:15 exactly, and that wasn't an angel number, so I can't make any moves. Like, your mind is so creative. It will make up stories for anything. And one of the stories that our minds make up is that it tells us that we have something called imposter syndrome, when literally we don't necessarily have imposter syndrome. We're literally showing up as imposters. And one of the things, and one of the ways that this shows up is that wherever it is that you are right now, sometimes you so desperately want to be somewhere else. Like, say you're at point A and you so desperately want to be at point B, and the law of attraction and manifestation network will tell you like, act as if you're already at B. And while there is benefit to you doing that, like to be able to future project and just like hold a space for your, an energetic space for you to see yourself in this like version B of you, I think that's amazing. However, sometimes your energy doesn't actually match that person B. Your actions don't match that person B. Your thought process doesn't match that person B. Your way of being and showing and responding and reacting doesn't match this person B. So what happens here is that you're not having imposter syndrome. You're literally an imposter because you're not this person B. So that's not bad news for us. This just means that we got to go back and see and really look at where we are in the present moment, which might just be person A. And is it okay that I get to love and heal and really, caress on this person A and get to see what this person's needs are without wanting to just like ditch her and just become person B all the time. And this kind of dissonant energy makes you feel really unsettled. So self-doubt has the opportunity to creep in because you don't actually know who you are. Are you person A or are you person B? Like, which one? Pick one. Are you person C or person D? Like, right? Like, there's so many different options. A part of you is not in the practice of meeting yourself exactly where you are right now, with your flaws, with your insecurities, with all your trauma, with all your poor behaviors, with all your X, Y, and Z, right? Like all the different things, bring it all, like bring all the baggage. And we don't need to go through each piece of the baggage and be like, oh, what should we do with this childhood trauma? And like, what should we do with this event in 8th grade? Like, what should we do with this mommy issue? And like, what should we do with this, abandonment? Like, we don't need to like air out every single piece of your dirty laundry, but we do need to look at like, where is it that you are in the present moment that's preventing you from being this person B that is, in your vision, that is out here somewhere in the stratosphere, in the grid of consciousness that can exist. You can be that person, but if you're always dissociating and leaving your present moment to go be somewhere else, that's where we get into this self-doubt. That's the perfect opportunity for this self-doubt voice to come in and being like, oh, well, like you're not this person. You're an imposter. You have imposter syndrome. You're not good enough. You're making it up. You're doing this or that. And the thing is like, you're going to believe that. Because if we look at the facts on the table, you aren't person B, you're person A. So go ahead and meet yourself in this present moment. So, this leads me to say that when we're person A and we're so desperately want to be person B, like we just like, I just feel it, I taste it, like I'm so there, like your one foot is over here and the other foot is over here, you know what I mean? It's like you're teetering, you're kind of just like one foot in and one foot out. Like there is this shame and guilt associated with still being person A, and a sadness. Like there's some kind of like grieving too, like when you are becoming, when you are changing, when you're evolving, when new chapters are beginning, there's sometimes this shame of moving on or moving forward or leaving something behind. There's kind of this like breakup energy that comes with that. But let's go back to this like idea of shame that goes into this person A. If you are here and you meet yourself in the present, part of you has to be okay with seeing trying. You have to be okay with seeing trying. And I don't mean by the public eye. I don't mean like so-and-so in the internet world and like whatever social media has to like watch you try. If that's the path you want to take, you're welcome to take that. This is you being able to see yourself try. Because this goes back to point one, which is you need evidence to know that you can do the thing. You need evidence to know that you have taken the steps. You need evidence to know that you have started. But if you're not willing to see yourself, if you're not willing to actually capture that data, you will always perpetuate this lame ass story about how you don't have enough, how you didn't, blah, 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 blah. And at a certain point, yes, there's oppression. Yes, there's systematic ways that things happen. There is trauma. There is accessibility. There's ways that maybe you haven't always had like 1 foot ahead of the curve. You know what I mean? Like all of those things can be true, and take a real look at your own responsibility of how much responsibility you have in nurturing the doubt that is here. So when that voice talks to you, are you talking back to it? When that voice talks to you, are you entertaining it? When that voice talks to you, are you now like unable to make moves for the next 6 weeks because like this voice said this thing? Are you participating? Like, what is your relationship in this participation? Because it's not just this like, oh, self-doubt is like happening to me, imposter syndrome is happening to me, all of these things. Like that's victimization. That's self-victimization. Like now you're just victimizing yourself. Many things can be true. You may have lots of different adversities and also be able to take responsibilities on how you are participating in this as well. Yeah. So part one, we said we want the evidence. Part two, we said, let's be okay with exactly where we are, knowing that there's more places to go, but like, is it okay that we're here right now? And part three is being able to see yourself try. And the more that you are able to recycle through those, it's not in order. It's not like a linear step, part one, part two, part three. It's like the more that you're able to recycle through those three energies, the more evidence your body gets, your energy changes. Your body changes, your somatics change, the way that you're able to show up, the way that you're able to, watch yourself grow and evolve and see like, oh, wow, even 6 months ago I was there and now I'm here. The way that you're able to measure just the nuance of your lived experience will go so far. So again, it's not that I have the cure for self-doubt, because you know what? Like, let's bottle it up and like let's spray it in our hair. Like, that would be nice, but that's not the thing. It is something that will keep showing up. It will it would shed its skin and it will look like a different creature next time. Like, it will always have like a different view of it. But the more that you build your muscle, this is your resiliency to be able to deal with self-doubt no matter what form it comes in. So friends, if you enjoyed this episode, 100% subscribe, etc., etc. And until next time, remember, the world is your playground, and I will catch you soon.